Hey man, say man, it's your boy DAALIGHT, man. DAALIGHT TV, back at y'all with another news update. And if you ain't heard by now, after the longest criminal trial in Georgia state history, Jeffrey Williams, aka Young Thug, aka Young Thugger Thugger, Mr. Big Slime himself, is free. Technically. You understand what I'm saying? We got the video of Thug taking a plea deal, receiving 15 years probation. In the video, the judge pretty much breaks down all the stipulations, what he can and can't do. So we're gonna get into the video, and I'm gonna tap in with y'all on the back. It's your boy DAALIGHT TV. Let's get it.
I appreciate that you do realize how much of an impact you have on people. I mean, it's past your neighborhood. It's worldwide, especially young people. And having come up from where you came up from and living in and around that, you know that gangs are damaging to our community. And it may be that a whole lot of rap music and the rap industry is, I mean, honestly, it sounds like a modern day version of kind of WWE wrestling that used to be on television, where people would just get up and posture and act like they hated each other. And it may be that that's a lot of what is going on in the music industry with rap. But whether it is fake or not, it has tremendous impact on kids and young people who think, this is cool, this is what I want to do. Look at him, he's a millionaire. I can do that by being, a gangster in the streets. And that's not true. What you're likely to have happen to you if you're a gangster in the streets is you get shot, you get killed, or you get thrown in prison. And those are, by far the most likely outcomes. And, you've been in here watching the trial, and you've seen the pictures of Mr. Ryan posing with a gun as big as he is at 15 years old and going out and shooting and killing another teenager. And that's what gangs do, and that's unfortunately a lot of what rap music does. And if you are a modern day John Lennon, he might have rapped too in this day and age. I don't know, but I know you're talented, and even if you choose to continue to rap, you need to try to use your influence to let kids know that that is not the way to go, and that there are ways out of poverty besides hooking up with the powerful guy at the end of the street selling drugs. And, I know that happens for protection sometimes, but a much better way would be getting an education and hanging around with people who set a good example. And you be one of those people that sets a good example. All right, so that's my high horse on that. I could also go on. But I want you to try to be more of the solution and less of the problem. All right. So it is not lost on the court that the state, had they been able to come to agreement on certain special conditions, was willing to entirely dismiss the RICO count, was willing to entirely dismiss one of the gang counts, and was willing to entirely dismiss this, machine gun count. Was willing to give a sentence that permitted Mr. Williams to walk out of the door today and therefore does not seem to be particularly worried that Mr. Williams, if on the streets, would be a danger to society. I'm taking that into consideration in crafting my sentence. And in permitting a NOLO plea to the RICO count in one of the two gang counts, I would not be permitting the NOLO to the one if you were not pleading guilty to at least one of them. But you are, and y'all admit a factual basis for the counts that you are pleading guilty to. I find there to be a factual basis for those counts, and for the remaining counts with which you are charged, I am going to impose a sentence, and I've taken a little bit of the suggested special conditions from the defense and a little bit of the special conditions suggested by the prosecution. On count one, the court sentence is 20 years to serve 5 years, commuted to time served, the balance of 15 years to be probated, and a $25,000 fine. On count two, the sentence is 5 years to serve, commuted to time served. That's the minimum sentence that's permitted on that count. It is required to be run consecutively. I'm going to run it consecutive to count one, but I am going to backload. Oh, I'm sorry, that is not commuted. That is 5 years to serve, and it's going to be run consecutively to count one, backloaded, by which I mean after you serve your 15 years of probation. If you have been successful on that probation, and I sincerely hope that you are, then at the end of that 15 years, I will commute the entire rest of any service portion of your sentence to time served. So I'll get to the end of it and give you the total sentence, but I'm also going to impose a $15,000 fine with regard to that count. Count 57, 20 years to serve 5, commuted to time served, the balance of 15 years probated, concurrent with count 1. Count 58, 10 years to serve 5, commuted to time served, balance probated, concurrent with count 1. 59, 5 years to serve, commuted to time served, concurrent with count 1. 60, 5 years to serve, commuted to time served, concurrent with count 1. Count 61, 5 years to serve, that is required to be also a consecutive sentence, so that's going to be run consecutively to count 56 and backloaded. Count 62, 10 years to serve, also required to be served consecutively, that's going to be consecutive to count 61, also backloaded. So essentially, the total sentence is 40 years to serve the first 5 years in prison, but commuted to the time that you have already served, followed by 15 years on probation, followed then by the backloaded 20 years, which can be served in custody and will be served in custody if you are not successful on your probation. If you are successful in completing your 15 years probation, that will be commuted to time served. You are to remain on reporting status for the first half of your probation, active reporting for the first 7.5 years of your probation, and that is pursuant to OCGA 17-10-1, subsection 2, A2A. And Mr. Steele and Mr. Adams, in order to keep him on reporting status, there needs to be good cause shown. We all concede that good cause is shown here?
Stipulate.
All right, I appreciate that. Special conditions of your probation.
What good cause? What do you mean?
Can I have a second, Your Honor?
Sure.
Judge.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. You had enough time to talk with your attorneys?
Yes.
Okay. All right, special conditions of your probation. After 48 hours from your release, you are to stay away from the metro Atlanta area and that's defined by the U.S. Census Bureau. It may change, but you can look that up anytime to figure out what that is. For the first 10 years of your probation, subject to the following exceptions, you are permitted to be in the metro Atlanta area to attend any wedding, funeral, or graduation from high school, college, or graduate school of any of your immediate family members. And immediate family members is defined the same way that you all were contemplating it when you were negotiating. You can get here up to 24 hours prior to any such event, and you need to leave within 48 hours after any such event. In addition, during each year of your probation, I'm going to require that you come to the metro Atlanta area and make a live anti-gang and anti-gun violence presentation 4 times a year, each year of your probation, at a grade school, a middle school, a boys or girls club, anything like that, that type of group. And if you want to, that presentation can include a benefit concert, and these presentations may count towards your required community service hours, which I'm going to impose, that during each year of your probation, you perform 100 hours of community service. You are, and this is required by the fact that there's a gang conviction. You shall not knowingly have contact of any kind or character with any other member or associate of any criminal street gang. Exception to that, if your brother is a member of any street gang, I hope you talk him into getting out of it. Quantavious Greer, and then also Sergio Kitchens, as long as you are contractually obligated to him. That is going to include anybody who is named in this indictment, except as absolutely necessary to conduct the lawful business of your musical career, and to any extent that the state is not agreeing to the exception for Mr. Kitchens. In the event that that part is not enforceable because it is only a portion of a special condition, going to provide that that be severable from the rest of this, and I'll put some case cites in the Senate sheet for that. You are in no way to promote any criminal street gang or any criminal street gang activity, including on any social media platform. You are not to utilize any hand signs, terminology, or language that promotes any criminal street gang. You are not to participate in any criminal street gang activity. You are not to knowingly engage in any contact with any of the victims that are listed in this indictment or with any of their family members. And you may not have in your possession or with arm's reach any kind of a firearm, because you're going to be a convicted felon. And that is, except I know that you have security and you need security. You can be within arm's reach of a firearm that is in the possession of either licensed law enforcement or licensed security personnel that are in your security detail or anybody that you're performing with. You are to submit to random drug screens and not use any drugs unless they are prescribed for you by a licensed physician. You are to execute a Fourth Amendment waiver that will permit the search of your person, residence, vehicles, and electronics for any firearms, any criminal street gang paraphernalia, or any illicit drugs. And as I mentioned, with regard to one of the first of your co-defendants from this trial, at least since I've been involved, to plead guilty, our Uniform Superior Court rules instruct and provide that it is absolutely proper for a judge to grant leniency in sentencing when, quote, the interests of the public in the effective administration of criminal justice are served, unquote. And I think that this plea is in the interest of the public and in the interest of effective administration of justice. Have been trying to ensure that, to the extent I can, this trial also abides by that. It's been challenging at certain times. I find your plea to be freely, knowingly, intelligently, and voluntarily entered with an understanding of the consequences, and I accept it as such. I also need to inform you that your attorneys were going to represent you through either the last day of this term of court or 30 days from now, whichever is later, and any of the filings that were mentioned that need to be filed within that time, they would file on your behalf unless they are permitted to withdraw from representing you before that time. I am not going to impose the conditions suggested by your counsel about the benefit concerts and the donations to the sheriff's office, but I certainly strongly encourage you to do those things and to do and continue to do things that benefit your community and especially help young people to stay out of criminal trouble. And unless there is anything from counsel other than that.
I have one matter, Your Honor.
Okay, and does the state as well?
Yeah, that's right.
Your Honor, with regards to Mr. Williams being permitted to come to the Metro Atlanta area or Cleveland Avenue area for funeral or the other items,
Right.
can you also consider, God forbid, there's a serious medical condition of a person that
In
is
his immediate family, certainly, we can add that. And I also meant to mention, because I know you do travel all over in order to pursue your career, that it's permissible for your probation to be transferred to out of state, and that has to be done through probation, but that is fine with the court. And you may also keep your, nobody's mentioned it, but keep your passport and travel out of state and internationally to the extent that you need to do that for business purposes as well. All right, Mr. Body.
Yes, Mr. Very quickly. Thank you. The district attorney just wanted me to urge the court, due to the fact that the Thomases have been negatively affected incredibly traumatically by what has been discussed by both parties here today, to make a brief statement as she believes that they fall within the exception or within the bounds of Marcy's law. And the court would allow, I understand the court made a ruling earlier as it relates to that, but she wanted to.
All right. Thank you. And I appreciate, well, I cannot even begin to understand what they must, anybody must be going through when they lose a family member to violence or criminal violence. Mr. Williams himself has expressed his own sorrow to the family. I, again, am going to stand by my belief that the appropriate time to hear a victim impact statement from them is at the close of the trial that contains the murder count with regard to their family member. All right, thank you. Okay, court is adjourned. Good luck to you. And I'm going to have there better be no violations, but if there are any, you're coming back to see me.
Yeah.
All right.
And there you have it, man. After the longest criminal trial in Georgia state history, Thugger is free. 15 years probation, bro. Like, I'm not gonna lie. I seen nigga get 15 years of parole and shit. The most probation I've ever seen anyone get is 5 years. Now, I've seen people be on probation for like 10 years because they kept violating or, you know, what they would call getting like recycled and shit, right? You know, like they'll get reinstated or some shit. But off the rip, 15 years probation, I just never seen that shit. And that shit seemed like such a trap door. But I will say one thing. They are letting bro work. You know what I'm saying? Based on what I hear with all the stipulations. If nothing else or whatever, they're gonna let him, you know, move around and get his money and shit. So, you know, that's cool. I knew the gang shit was gonna be tough or whatever. I didn't think that they were gonna really ban him from the metro Atlanta area, but probably the best thing for the nigga, be for real. Like, you know what I'm saying? Shit, if I was him, I'd probably go to Miami or something. You know what I'm saying? Being that he pushing that beeline like, you know, he was. If he go to LA, he's really more liable to like bump into some gang members or be caught up with some gang members and shit like that. So me personally, like, I know they got Bloods in Florida and shit, but it's not like, it's not crazy. They still more so like on the hood shit, you know what I'm saying, down that way. Unless you going to like Central Florida and shit like that, they got like a lot of things out there. But far as if you go to Miami and shit, you know, living in like South Beach, you know, then they gonna be on like Star Island or some shit like that, or whatever, by stunning them. You feel me? So it's like, my nigga, you know, that's probably where I would go. You know what I'm saying? If they gonna let you move your probation out of state. The way they got like the time stacked up or whatever and shit. So basically it just seemed like they gave bro 20 years. They suspended 15, like, to probation and shit. And basically, once he gets to a certain point, or once he completes the probation and shit like that, they'll throw out the other charges that are supposed to run consecutive. And, you know, that's pretty much it. So homie just gotta stay out the way, like all the way out the way. I mean, they got pretty strict when it came down to the gang shit. Like, he can't throw no hand signals, you know what I'm saying? Like, none of that shit that might, you know, represent a gang and all this other shit. So the question is, are they gonna nitpick? You understand? Because I just hope bro can stay out the way, man. You know, what's interesting is that, again, like I said, they letting him work because they even allowed the stipulation for him to work with, I guess if he's contractually obligated to work with people who might have gang affiliation, they're cool with that. So I guess he could do a song with a rapper who might be a Blood or a Crib or whatever and shit. Cause they even gonna let him work with Gunna. You know what I'm saying? So that's the big question is, will he work with Gunna? You understand? Like, what's gonna happen with that situation now that bro out? Yeah, man, but I said this shit, bro. I'ma show y'all, like right here, somewhere up here, and shit like that, or up there. You know, I sent my nigga Baby Truth for text message and shit, and I say, when they caught like the 5 OTF niggas for the murder for hire joint, I text Baby Truth and I say, yeah, they finna grab Dirt and let Thug go. You know what I'm saying? Like, and surely enough, bro, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's what happened. So, I don't know, bro. I'm not a psychic. I'm not like a fool. I just been in enough courtrooms and I've seen enough situations play out. Whether I went through them personally or just watching people I know, you know what I'm saying, go through it. I just be knowing how shit gonna play out sometimes, gang. You know what I'm saying? You know, I'm not the biggest like Young Thug supporter. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just not, I don't want to see nobody locked up, but I ain't gonna lie, I didn't really expect bro whatever to stay solid. Like, you gotta understand my interpretation is like, when you start doing shit like wearing nail polish, dresses, and all of that shit, I'm just questioning your character. You understand what I'm saying? Like, but bro actually walked this situation down, like with everybody telling on him and shit like that or whatever. Like, from far as I've seen, like, that nigga done kept his mouth closed. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, didn't really rattle and everything like that. And, you know, they got up out of there. Like, nigga really beat a state RICO. I mean, theoretically, yeah, he copped out. He's still on thin ice or whatever and shit. But, I mean, A lot of niggas thought bro was cooked in the beginning, bro. Like, I ain't gonna bullshit you. When I seen that this shit went past a year, and especially once it got past like an 18-month mark, I just knew that, man, bro gonna plead out to something light. Like, it's even Clubhouse audio and shit like that or whatever where I'm breaking down, you know, how it go. And I was saying that the sentence would be somewhere in the 10-year realm and shit because of the fact that I just know how mandatory minimum for conspiracy work. So if they're trying to model the state RICO after like how they play with the feds, then you know what I'm saying, that makes the most sense. So they pretty much gave both time served because he's been locked up for a minute. You know what I'm saying? And you know, he just got a shitload of probation to do and shit. He gonna be on heavy like monitoring for the first 7.5, so it's probably gonna be like, you know, weekly, monthly check-in, like, cause it's a state case. So the probation system might run like the state. Like, I know for me, I had to do, I ain't had no gang enhancements. My shit was just for drugs and all that shit. So, but they was on some shit like, okay, I started in checking in every week. And then it's like, all right, cool, man, you doing good, you doing what you're supposed to do, whatever and shit. Boom, checking every month. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it just slowly like declined because it's like they just start trusting you or giving you more room to do what you do because they see that you ain't, you know, on no bullshit. So, yeah, man, Thug out. Thug about to go through it. Bunch of other niggas too. You know what I'm saying? I was in the midst of talking about all this shit going on. I was finding out a bunch of other people got indicted that I gotta sit here and tell y'all about. So, you know, that's another story for another video or a bunch of videos. But hey man, welcome home, Young Thug. You know what I'm saying? Not the biggest fan, but I love to see a nigga beat the system and shit like that, especially if they do it without, you know, telling. But hey, y'all know my slogan, stay dangerous so you can be safe. It's your boy Daylight TV. I'm out.